you know that moment. She gets quieter. Not dramatic, not loud, just different. You ask what's wrong, and she says, "I'm fine." But she doesn't look fine. Her eyes don't match the words. Her body is still there, but somehow she's already farther away than the other side of the couch. And now the whole room changes. You can feel it. That weird pressure in the air. That heavy, unspoken distance where every word suddenly feels dangerous. So your mind starts racing. What did I miss? Did I do something? Why won't she just tell me? Why does this keep happening? How am I supposed to fix something she won't even name? Am I the problem? Here's the truth most people never learn. When she says she's fine, and she's clearly not, the issue usually isn't that she wants to confuse you. It's that something inside her doesn't feel safe enough, clear enough, or supported enough to fully come out yet. So no, you're not crazy. And no, this does not automatically mean your relationship is broken. You're not failing at love. Every couple that has ever loved each other has stood exactly where you're standing. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand what she usually means when she says, "I'm fine," why this moment goes wrong for so many couples, and how to respond in a way that creates connection instead of more walls. Let's get into it. The mindset reframe. Most couples believe that when a woman says she's fine but clearly isn't, she's being passive-aggressive, difficult, or expecting mind reading. But the real truth is deeper than that. A lot deeper. Most of the time, "I'm fine" is not a clean statement. It's a protective one. It's what comes out when her emotions are active, but her nervous system doesn't yet trust the moment enough to fully reveal what's beneath the surface. Because here's what most couples miss. Your partner's nervous system is reading you before her mind can even organize the right sentence. If she feels dismissed, rushed, judged, misunderstood, or like her feelings are about to become a debate, she may go quiet before she goes honest. Not because she has nothing to say, because saying it feels expensive. And honestly, this is where attachment patterns show up in real life. An anxious partner may say, "I'm fine," while secretly hoping you notice the pain and move closer. A more avoidant or emotionally overwhelmed partner may say, "I'm fine," because silence feels safer than opening something she's not sure will be handled with care. Different pattern, same longing. She wants connection. She wants safety. She wants to feel emotionally held in the moment, not cross-examined inside it. So when safety leaves a relationship, love doesn't always disappear. It goes underground. What looks like withdrawal is often protection. What sounds like distance is often unspoken longing. What feels like rejection is often someone trying not to feel even more alone than they already do. And here's what changes everything. This is not about becoming better at decoding women. This is about becoming the kind of partner whose presence makes honesty easier. That's the real shift. Not perfect words, not flawless timing, not some communication hack, but emotional safety strong enough that the truth no longer has to hide behind, "I'm fine." So let's talk about what she often actually means. 1. I don't feel safe enough to say the real thing yet. Most couples hear, "I'm fine," as information, But most couples should hear it as hesitation. Because beneath the surface, this moment is rarely about vocabulary. It's about safety. Her nervous system may be saying, I have feelings right now, but I don't trust what happens to me when I bring them to you. That can come from this relationship, or from old patterns, or both. Maybe every hard conversation turns into defensiveness. Maybe she has learned that when she opens up, she gets corrected instead of understood. Maybe her body has quietly started associating honesty with conflict, and now silence feels like the only protection she has left. Here's the disconnecting version versus the connecting one. She says, I'm fine. You say, you're obviously not fine. Just say it. Now her body hears pressure. Now the walls go up. She says, I'm fine. And you say, okay, I can tell something feels off. You don't have to force it out right now, but I'm here when you're ready. That lands differently, because her brain is quietly registering, he's not trying to control my timing. He's making room for me. And when you do that, honesty starts to feel less like exposure and more like coming home.
2. I don't want to feel too much alone while you stay calm on the outside. Here's the part no one talks about. Most couples think the calmer-looking person is automatically the safer person. But most couples miss that emotional calm without emotional presence can feel cold. That's important, because she may not need you to panic with her. She may not need you to fix it, but she does need to feel that you are with her, not above her, not outside it, with her. This is why I'm fine sometimes really means I already feel alone in this, and I cannot handle feeling even more alone if I tell you the truth. That's the deeper emotional reality. She feels activated. You feel confused. And both of you are standing in the same room, having completely different nervous system experiences. Think about the difference. She says, I'm fine. You shrug and say, all right then, and go back to your phone. Now what she feels is not relief, it's abandonment, even if that was never your intention. Or she says, I'm fine, and you answer, you don't seem fine. I'm not going anywhere. Talk to me when you can. Now something softens. Not because you solved it, because you stayed present. Not bigger reactions, not a perfect script, not some dramatic late-night relationship speech, but presence that tells her, you do not have to carry this moment by yourself. That's when your partner stops feeling like a problem to solve and starts feeling like a person you can actually reach. 3. I'm testing whether you want the truth or just the quick version. And this is the one most couples never figure out. Most couples ask, what's wrong, like they're asking for a headline. But emotions are not headlines. They're layered. They're messy. They take a minute. So when she says, I'm fine, sometimes what she really means is, I'm checking whether you actually want to understand me, or whether you just want this tension to disappear as fast as possible. That matters more than people realize. Because most people in relationships don't respond to emotion with curiosity. They respond with urgency. And urgency often feels like pressure. Your nervous system in conflict is like a smoke detector. It cannot always tell the difference between emotional discomfort and actual danger. So the alarm goes off either way. That's why your tone matters. Your face matters. Your timing matters. Your patience matters.
Watch the contrast. She says, I'm fine. You say, can we not do this tonight? What she hears is, your feelings are inconvenient. She says, I'm fine. You say, maybe you don't have the words yet. That's okay. I care more about understanding than rushing through this. Now her inner experience changes. Now something in her says, maybe I don't have to defend my feelings before I even express them. Intimacy isn't built in the huge moments. It's built in the 30-second ones. The little turning toward moments where you show her you want the real thing, not just the easy thing. And that's the shift that turns a relationship that feels tense and fragile into one that feels emotionally available and real. 4. I'm not mad about this one thing. I'm hurt by the pattern. But here's what nobody explains. Most couples argue about the surface, the dishes, the text, the tone, the timing. But most couples are never really fighting about the thing they're fighting about. They're fighting about what the thing represents. That's why I'm fine can come out after something seemingly small, because the small thing touched a much bigger pattern. And now she doesn't just feel annoyed, she feels unseen. Maybe it wasn't the forgotten errand. Maybe it was the familiar ache of feeling like she has to carry the relationship's emotional labor again. Maybe it wasn't your one dismissive comment. Maybe it was the way it echoed 10 other moments that never got repaired. Emotional distance isn't like a wall that appears overnight. It's more like scar tissue. It forms slowly over 100 small moments that were never really tended to. Here's how this plays out. She says, I'm fine, after you interrupt her for the 3rd time that week. You say, why are you making such a big deal out of this one little comment? Disconnect. Or you say, I have a feeling this isn't just about tonight. I think something bigger has been building, and I want to understand that part too. That hits a different place, because what she feels then is, he sees the pattern, not just the incident. And when you can name the pattern without shaming either of you, the walls between you start to come down without either of you having to force the moment. 5. I don't want to say it badly and make it worse. This is where it gets really interesting.
Most couples assume silence means emotional distance, but most couples never consider that silence can also mean restraint. She may be holding back not because she doesn't care, because she cares so much that she doesn't trust herself to speak cleanly while she's hurt. That's real maturity, even if it doesn't look elegant in the moment. Sometimes I'm fine means I am not fine, but if I start talking right now, it's all going to come out sideways. And honestly, you've probably had your version of that too. Maybe she's trying not to explode. Maybe she's trying not to cry. Maybe she's trying not to say something sharp just because her nervous system is flooded. Most people in relationships don't know how to recognize overwhelm before it becomes damage. They wait until the conversation is already bleeding. So instead of seeing her pause as rejection, see if it might be regulation. Look at the difference. She says, I'm fine. You push. No, tell me now. What is it? Now the pressure rises. Now her body is cornered. Now whatever comes out may be all heat and no clarity. Or you say, we don't have to do this in the worst version of the moment. If you need a little space to get clear, I'd rather hear the truth later than force it badly now.
That response creates dignity. It creates breathing room. It tells her, your feelings matter, and the way we handle them matters too. Not avoidance, not detachment, not walking away from the relationship, but two people protecting the conversation so it can become repair instead of more damage. That's when conflict stops feeling like a threat and starts becoming something your relationship can actually survive. 6. I need you to notice me without making me beg. Here's the part that hits deep. Most couples think bids for connection should be obvious, but most couples miss how often longing comes out sideways. And when it does, I'm fine can really mean, I need you to notice that I'm not okay without making me drag the whole truth out by myself. Because beneath the surface, a lot of people are not just asking, will you listen? They're asking, will you come toward me? Will you care enough to stay curious? Will you make me feel chosen in this moment? That is attachment. That is longing. That is the human need beneath so many relationship cycles. For some women, especially if they've spent years feeling emotionally unsupported, directly asking for comfort can feel unbearably vulnerable. So instead, the need comes wrapped in distance, wrapped in coolness, wrapped in, I'm fine. Here's the contrast. She says, I'm fine, with that flat tone you know too well. You answer, well, let me know when you want to talk. Technically respectful, emotionally absent. Or you step closer and say, you don't have to chase me for care. I can see something's going on. I'm here. That sentence does something powerful, because her body hears pursuit without pressure, and her inner world starts whispering, I'm not invisible right now. And here's what changes everything. This isn't a trick for avoiding distance. This is what emotionally mature love looks like. You become someone who notices before resentment hardens. That's the shift that makes connection feel less performative and more like a refuge. 7. I need your response to feel different than it used to. And this may be the most important one of all. Most couples think the issue is the conversation they are having. But most couples are also inside the memory of every conversation that came before it. So when she says, I'm fine, you are not just dealing with this moment. You are dealing with her expectation of what usually happens next. Maybe historically, when she opens up, you get defensive. Maybe you explain instead of empathize. Maybe you minimize. Maybe you withdraw. Maybe you become logical exactly when she needs emotional presence. So now, I'm fine really means, I do have something to say, but I don't believe it will land differently this time. That's why consistency matters more than intensity. Not one big emotional speech. Not one perfect apology. Not one great night of communication. But enough repeated moments of safety that her nervous system starts updating the story. That's how trust changes. Slowly. Quietly. For real. Here's the disconnecting version. She says, I'm fine. You say, I said I'm sorry. What else do you want from me? Now she feels managed, not met. Here's the connecting version. She says, I'm fine. You say, I know in the past I haven't always made this easy to bring to me. If that's what's happening, I get why you'd hold back. But I want to do this differently. That line matters. A lot. Because now you're not just reacting to her mood, you're taking responsibility for the emotional climate between you. And what moves through her in that moment is often, maybe this really can become something different. This isn't a communication hack. This is just what growth looks like when someone decides to stop protecting their ego more than the connection. And that's the shift that turns repair from a rare event into the new emotional pattern of the relationship. Close. So if she says she's fine and she's clearly not, don't just listen to the sentence. Listen to the protection inside the sentence. Listen to the unspoken longing inside it. Listen to what her nervous system may be trying to guard. Because the goal is not to become a mind reader. It's to become someone whose presence makes the truth easier to tell. And when you internalize that, you stop reacting to the words on the surface and start responding to what's actually happening beneath the surface. You become more grounded, more emotionally available, more safe to love. This isn't a checklist. It's an invitation. An invitation to break old cycles, lower the walls, and become the kind of partner who creates connection instead of waiting around hoping it magically appears. Because most couples keep arguing about the moment. But you can learn to understand the meaning underneath it. And that changes everything. The relationship you want doesn't begin when your partner finally says everything perfectly. It begins when your presence becomes safe enough for the truth to come out at all.